Hello, everybody. Here I am. It's 9:04 a.m. Right on time for Jimmy. But you got almost 2 minutes of uninterrupted epidemic sound instrumental without copyright. Yes. No need to contact the publisher so that we can use epidemic as our background music. Like you're sitting in Denny's with nice music. Oh, I have a nice little cup of coffee here. A mug of coffee. In my boo mug. Bright orange or pumpkin color. Green straw. Yeah, so. Well, you got some weird guy. Hamas guy in Colorado decided to spray innocent Israelis who were having a peaceful display, demonstration, if you will, walking around a nice outside mall. And this guy walks up and starts spraying them with incendiary, lighting them on fire. Oh my God. Can you imagine? An 88-year-old person that survived Auschwitz almost gets killed in Colorado by some maniac. Well, that's what terror attack puts spotlight on visa overstays. Collect them and get them out. Deport them. You know, they get a 30, 60, 90-day visa and they overstay it. And years later, under the Biden administration, no one cares. But when you're letting in 10 million, 12 million illegals, who cares about a visa overstay? Hopefully they meld into society and end up becoming voters with some of these stupid liberal states. Yeah. We're being destroyed from within. That's why Trump needs to step it up and constantly filling, 500 passenger transport planes with arrested illegals. Send them out. Send them deep. Put them in the center of Africa. Fly them into wherever the hell. A 50,000 passenger prison in El Salvador. Isn't it enough? Give them some money and have it expanded to 10 million. Yeah. Got to do something. Here's a picture I took. It came up on my Facebook thingy 10 years ago. I was sitting, let's say 100 yards away. I was sitting cross-legged at the corner of a dance area for the Indian summer. And they're going to come out in the dance area. So I'm sitting in the corner of the circle or more like it's a rectangular place, so it's more of an ellipse than a circle. But they're all dressed out. You see the color here. This is a 7-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl, maybe 6-year-old girl. And I just, I was facing in the middle of this area, just on idle, waiting for them to come out. And the drummers started drumming, and and everyone's everyone's starting to move around with the drum music. So I just turned about 20 degrees counterclockwise, and I spotted this beautiful young lady with her feathers coming out of her hairdress. And she was looking at, I don't know what she was looking at. My shutter speed was at 0.003 of a second. Digital camera. And I come to notice after I was examining my pictures that she was actually looking at this little bee, and it's like she and the bee were talking to each other. I mean, is that amazing? Look, you can actually see the wings of the bee because the shutter speed was so fast. I don't know why the shutter speed was 3,000 per second. I had no time to set this thing up. I turned it. I went to full telephoto, which is like 300 millimeters, and just snapped it. And I'm just going to do a little print screen right here of that. Yeah. So now I've got 2 pictures. So there we go. I can go right there. That's the. Let's see if we can brighten that up just a little tiny bit. There we go. The colors are pretty good as is. There we go. Nice. So 8 years, 7, 8 years later, I figured out that there's a bee in there. There's the full version of that. Yeah, let's do a little brighten that up a little bit similarly. There you go. Look at the dressing of the hair. Yeah. Judy Dordell, who managed all these Indian summer events for this magnificent Indian summer events that were held every summer. And so she knows who this person is. She knows her parents. And she delivered the 416-1100 web address to her daughter, and her daughter saw it at 18 years old when she was 8. How amazing is that, huh? So, on my website, I've placed her name on there, which I didn't know. I didn't know what her name was. How would I know? I had no, by the time I figured out that was a great picture, I'm already, 1,000 miles away doing something else. Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting. Very interesting. You had to be there. Let's see. Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Yeah. You know, when you've earned a lot of money and you're 35 years old and you're reasonably attractive, glamorous, whatever you want to say. Her Eras tour threw over the $1 billion level, billion with a B. That's 1,000 millions. Yeah, and girls' night out. Yeah. That earring that she's wearing, that each side is $18,000. There you go. 18,000. So all those diamonds are, you know, EVVS, clear. You know, let's say it's probably a 3 or 4 carat diamond on the bottom dangle. 3 carat, 2.5 carat, 2 carat, 1 carat. Then going up. Then you got 3 carat, 2.5, 2, 1. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 16, probably 20 carats of diamonds on each side. $18 carats, $18,000. Suspended in either white gold or platinum. Yep. She's got a couple of them. Yeah. There you can see I think she's tall already, so adding another 2 inches to high heels, that is 6 inches. You throw up a half a foot. That'll make you look thinner. I think that's what that does. So she can stand up tall. Trump is threatening to impose tariffs on 2 American companies. Guess who one of them is? Trump says, hurry up and get development underway for assembling your iPhones here in the United States, or else I'm going to throw tariffs on what's going on in China. And I know you want to bring in 20 million phones real quick. Well, if you don't want to have a tariff on the 20 million phones, get going. So there'll be a deal made. I don't think he's going to screw Apple, but he's putting the pressure on them to hurry up and get going. You know, with the assembly procedure. I don't know why my watch twice a day is telling me about emergency use of Wi-Fi with my I don't know. Do you want to use it? Of course. How do you say no to that question? Silly boy. I'm going to have to figure out how to answer that question once and for all so it stops buzzing my wrist morning and evening. Do you want to use your... Yes, I do. Oh, gosh. All right, well, that's what that story's all about. Trump is threatening Apple and one other. Probably Meta. Stock markets dip as Beijing blasts Trump's bogus charges that it is violating the Geneva trade agreements. what I'm hearing from a number of sources from Flipboard, and all kinds of sources. This is Fortune. Fortune.com. These are headlines that pop up on Flipboard, which is a magical application that you can download on the App Store if you're an iOS, iPad OS, or iPads or iPhone. It's particularly useful for like what I have here, a landscape mode connected to the Magic Keyboard. Makes a wonderful combination for reviewing. Now these are photos of Flipboard rather than Flipboard itself, because as you can see on this display over here, this is a miniature. This is a big 13-inch iPad, an old one, which I use these monitors. This is a 11-inch old iPad, which I use as like a TV monitor thing. And this one here, you see the elapsed time, 18 minutes of this simulcast. And the Trump administration, see, so it's like a slideshow. So when I see something I like, I do, you press the volume up button and the side button simultaneously, and it does a flash screen of whatever's on the screen. Except if you're on network television, it comes out black. They decided we don't like that. So if I see something I like on screen, I take a picture of it with my camera. And it turns out pretty good, surprisingly. Lots of pixels on these iPads, so you get incredible detail. Anyway, you can do print screens on Flipboard. I'm shaking the image. Yeah. And you can see most of the image. It's a little cropped because the square aspect ratio of this, the way the formatting is here. Now, if I change the formatting to, let's see, we're going to crop split again. There you go. See, now you get full screen view of Jimmy here, and you get the full aspect ratio of what's on my, Ecamm Live allows me to connect cameras. You can have 3, 4, 5 cameras, any number of cameras, but I connect this big white cable over here, which you can see on the right side of your screen. I'm touching this big white cable. It's a digital cable. The cable costs, 2-foot cable costs $100. Crazy, but it's super. Lots of bits per second flow through this guy, controlled by the chips that are in this white plug here. This Apple gets a little fee, of course. But you can feel the cable is double shielded so that no electrical interference can penetrate this cable as we're sending this digital signal through underneath the laptop and coming back, and it comes into this cable right here. Yeah. This cable with the braided cloth exterior, that goes to my soundboard, which makes me louder or not so loud. Yeah. Or you can hear the crickets because no one is calling me at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. shut up. Yeah. The product of my soundboard here. Yeah. Yeah. A few things we can do. Yeah. There's pre-programmed in here. Ouch. Ooh, zipping up my zippers. Or scratching my 33 RPM record, and every time it goes around it's going to make a little clicking noise because you scratch the tracks. And a little needle going around, and gosh. How things have changed. And now all the sound is digitally streamed, and recorded in some kind of a format that creates a file. Now this is a simulcast, right, on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And it starts at somewhere between 9 and 9:05. I can't tell you exactly because this is not network television. This is high definition television. As you can see, there's all kinds of little bits and bytes floating around here. But you have to tell me, do you like this format? Or would you rather have this format where it fills the screens? So you have no black area. Everything, now it crops it a little bit. And I have the camera steered so that you get the time of day. That's the real time of day, 9:26:35. 9 hours, 26 minutes, 40 seconds, yeah. Yeah, that's on the button. You can see the sweep clock over here. It's going to be at 50 seconds, yeah. They all say the same because they're all connected. Apple is very careful about what time your watch says, or any clock that you have on an Apple device. They all say the same thing. They all read the same way. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds. Yeah, there you go. So if you have a watch with a sweep second-hand display on it, which I don't, I use digital, the sweeping is all the same. Everybody looks at their watch, the sweep is identical. Everyone's watch is the same. If you're in different time zones, it might say, 8:27 instead of 9:27 or 10:27, depending on where you are on the planet. And the planet is divided up into 24 time zones. With the 0 time zone, UTC, yeah, Universal Time Zone. We're like +5, I believe. Eastern. Okay. Populist Carol Noraki. He wins the Polish presidential election. He's a conservative. And setting the stage for more clashes with the Prime Minister Tusk. Yeah. I think I showed that image yesterday also. I can go here. Suspect charged with murder, but no one died yet. Last I heard, no one actually died, but you got someone in critical condition. Maybe one of the persons that are in the hospital I think there were 7 or 8 carried to the hospital, and one of them may have not survived. I guess you get sprayed in the face with a volatile hydrocarbon, like gasoline or something. Your clothing goes on fire, your hair goes on fire, you get, oh God. Hopefully it's not that 88-year-old survivor of Auschwitz and this slimy bastard. Not these guys. I've got a picture of slimy bastard here somewhere. Maybe not. I thought I did. I was comparing the serial numbers of my backup MacBook Air. That's one of them. Last 4 digits of the serial number is HHPF. Okay, and the AppleCare renews October of 2025 and September 2025. This is an M2. They're both 24 gigabyte machines. One's got the M2 chip. This is the older machine, apparently. Yeah, see, that one says M2 2023, and this is 2024. Yeah. Ordered it directly from Apple. Shipped directly from China. Anyway, I wanted to get the right serial numbers because I was paying for 3. I sold equipment to Mac Me an Offer in Tampa. That's the name of the company. Mac. Instead of Make Me an Offer, that's MACME an offer.com. Go there. And see here, I'm paying for 3. God damn. And one of these machines I sold. And it's the one here that bills in March of 2026. So, God. So 6 months ago I bought another year on a machine I don't even have. And I have to figure out how to get to Apple to get some kind of a goddamn refund because I don't even own the machine. Toilet paper could be irrelevant soon. Ooh. What are we going to do? I didn't flip to read that story. I'll have to catch up to that. Let's see if we can look it up. We just highlight it, because it's an image file, and then say look up. Let's look it up. Men's Journal. Ooh. Let's touch on it. Do we want to know? Toilet paper could be irrelevant soon. The future may bring new kinds of ways to wash. A chorrito. That's what my Spanish friends call these little things that spray up into your butt, into your privates, and wash them off. Cultural changes towards sustainable alternatives. Yeah, we don't have to knock down. Can you imagine how many trees they knock down to make toilet paper? Well, you can wash off your privates, with the little spritzers that can be embedded in your toilet. And then, then you can use your regular hand towels, to dry off your privates. After you stand up a little bit and dry off your privates. Because you won't have any more, anything around any of your openings. That'll be all washed off, rinsed with warm water. Also known as a bidet. But it'll be an enhanced bidet. You do not want to wash off at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. No. 98 degrees Fahrenheit is about as much as I've measured the temperature, like inside of a shower with a digital thermometer. When you get to like 100 degrees in a shower, that feels like burning hot on your skin if you get to 100 degrees. Yeah. So, speed reading this. The average American uses 1 roll of toilet paper every week. 50 rolls a year. So you got a house full of 4. That's 200 rolls of toilet paper a year. How many trees is that killing? And you multiply that by, 90 million households or whatever. Woo! That's a lot of tree cutting to wipe off your privates. Use warm water and a towel. And that way you save a lot of trees and a lot of expense, because warming up a little hot water to wash off your private parts is a lot. So isn't that cool now? We'll go back to our image files. And there we go. And that's how you use in the operating system any of these headlines. You can just look it up and read the story. But lawmakers won't do one thing. All right, what the hell is that one thing necessary to save the water supply? Let's look that up. There we go. Whoops, all right, we're going to search the web. All right, we're trying out. There we go. The Texas Tribune. The one thing that Texas won't do. All right, what is it? There's the picture. As the state approaches a crisis. Okay, we got that part. All right, what's the one thing? So we're going to 75,000 wells across 16 counties in the state of Texas. Excuse me while I'm reading this, speed reading the story. The rule is simple. If you own land above the aquifer, which hopefully most of the lands are above the aquifer, the water underneath is yours. You can use as much as you want, as long as it's not wasted or taken maliciously. Same applies to your neighbors. The problem with some of this pumping is that some people have planted acres and acres, hundreds and thousands of acres of, harvested vegetables. And they have these huge wells that pump out, millions of gallons of water out of the aquifer to water their crops so they grow, because in some parts there's not a lot of rain. So the one thing, what's the one thing? You get that key word. Rapid population growth. Oh, of course you have to throw climate change in there, and the aging water infrastructure all threaten the state's water supply. And Texas does not have enough water to meet the demand. the state is stricken with a historic drought, according to the Texas Water Development Board. All right, so I got these. Texas is running out of water. The one thing they won't do is... What's the one thing they won't do? Okay, that's... The overwhelming majority in Texas is used by farmers. Remember, I said that. By 27, it's expected to face a 50% decline. Estimated 3 trillion gallons of water. That's a lot of gallons. Groundwater is 54% of the entire state's water supply. Ooh, I wonder what the other 46% is. Rain. Surface water. Groundwater districts and the law. Yep, that'll do it. Use X number of gallons. It's yours, and anything over a certain limit, you're going to get taxed. Yeah, taxing always limits stuff. It limits the number of dollars in your wallet. So then these guys can hammer you with new laws. They should have a rule like Trump has. Every new law, you must remove 10 old laws. 10 for 1. It's the only way we're going, because they keep adding new ones. You know, you end up with thousands or billions of laws. Yeah, this guy, he's growing cotton on 2,350 acres. You think he's using some water? Woo! Haygood irrigates 80 acres of land and prays the rain takes care of the rest. Yeah, that's a lot of irrigation. Look at all that water. Oh my God. And if you don't, this sucker dries up, you know. So then you either keep it alive or replant or something. I don't know how this works, but 8.5 million acres were irrigated in Texas. 65% was in the high plains. All right, we've had enough of that. Interesting technique. Oh, there's my gosh darn it. Where were we? Oh yeah, here's my dirty kitchen. There's a lot of this thing back here. You know, each one of these has to be hand washed. All these little containers. The containers hold like It's like they're 24 ounce. 3 cup. 8 ounces in a cup, yeah? 24, 3 cups. Yeah, I think it holds 3 cups. Could be 30 ounce. Anyway, this is a big 19-inch saute pan. Looks in this picture like a pot. And then I had some spaghetti. I made spaghetti sauce. You can see my Alessi can. See Alessi on there? Alessi tomatoes. DOP. Italian peeled whole plum tomatoes, which I individually cut each into thirds so that the insides of the tomato explode into the sauce. It's tomato sauce after all, and I made gosh, I have to like a half a gallon of sauce. There's three of those 28 ounce cans, so that's 30, 60, 90 ounces. Plus I had another 30 ounces of chopped up onions. That goes in there. So you either get the onion juice and the onion, cells, the leaf structure of the onion, it stays intact. You saute the onions until they're just turning transparent. Then you dump the tomato sauce in there so that the onions don't overcook. You saute garlic first, and a nice healthy, let's say half cup of olive oil. You want a good amount of olive oil. Plus I put a whole stick of butter in there. Yeah, that makes the sauce stick to the spaghetti noodle a little bit. Anyway, so I boiled up some spaghetti, 2 pounds of spaghetti, and made the sauce and made a mess. And there it is. I have these stainless steel tubes that have rubber along the bottom edges and the top, and it rolls up. And that's a big double sink, which I have covered with bamboo, like cutting boards. And it gives me a little work surface, because when you're not using the sink, I can cover that up, and otherwise I can just stack those little boards up and get access to the disposal over on the right side. Yeah. And the paper towel, give you an idea of the size. These are, with the orange caps, are 1 liter bottles, which I make iced tea for Marilyn. She's an iced tea, loves iced tea. And this is the AARKE. With that little thing, you screw these bottles on there. You fill them up with, I fill them up with distilled water. Quality filtered water is okay, but we use distilled. I don't want any heavy metals in the water. Any vitamins and supplements are taken in capsule form every day. Yep. And so that little device there, you screw the bottle on there, and you pull this lever down right there, and count to 10, and the CO2 comes out of this little nozzle, which is right when you fill this bottle up to the fill line, and they have a line right on the, you can see that line right there, that's the fill line. That's convenient. And then you screw the bottle up into that receptacle, and push down on a lever for about 10 seconds, and then the gas, pressurizes that bottle up to about 900 psi, pounds per square inch. The CO2 supply is, see that little thin little cable? That's connected to a 5-pound CO2 cylinder under the sink. Yeah, I'm on my last one of those, so in about 2 months I'm going to have to go to the CO2 place and have those babies filled up. It cost me $5 a bottle, I think, to fill them up. $5 a bottle. It's a keg store. I got to drive to western, middle of Broward County out west. The kegerator, I think it's called. Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. I had these 10-pound cylinders were too annoying to handle. So here we did a little. Daniel sent me this little blurb where Scotty Scheffler has won 3 or 4 tournaments. Look at this. In the Byron Nelson tournament, he came in first. The PGA Championship, he won that one for $3.4 million. He came in tied for 4th in the Charles Schwab tournament. That's what T4 means. He walked away with $427,000. And the Memorial, he won. So he's a good little picture of a trophy in the brackets. And he got another $4 million. So from May 4th to June 3rd, he made $9,600,000. That's why he's got this nice smile on his face. Yeah. Now we have the U.S. Open this week coming up on the 12th or something. Yeah, not this week, but next week. So I don't know if a lot of these guys are going to take off this next weekend or what tournament comes up this weekend right before the U.S. Open. But, I figured out that, he's got to pay. He pays his caddy probably 15 or 18% of his winnings. So that's $1.5 million. So $1.6 million, round numbers. So that $9 million becomes $8 million real quick because he has to pay the caddy fees. He may be even paying the caddy 20%. So so he's left with $7.8 million. Now he's got to pay income taxes on the $7 million. So out of $7.8 million, it's probably $800,000 for his private jet fees and his hotel expenses. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, hotel, room service. For his whole team, his coaches, and so that's probably $800,000. So. And then he has to reserve for income taxes on the net after expenses, because you're allowed to deduct your expenses. So, and I'm sure he itemizes his expenses. So I figure his net earnings are about, after all that, about 40%. So $9.6 million becomes $3.8 million real quick. I did a little breakdown of that somewhere in a text message. A text message that I sent Daniel. Let's hit the Daniel button. There you go. Yeah, so his $9.6 million gross pay. So he's got 60% expenses and taxes. Jet fees, caddy fees, hotel fees, foods, drinks, And estimated taxes. He's got to pay them in quarterly, or else he's going to get hammered for the interest on not paying it in promptly. So I figured out of $9,600,000, he ends up with $3,850,000. Yeah. But $3,850,000 ain't bad. Net. Income in the checkbook. For a month. 10 months of that is, or 6 months of that. That's $24 million net. Whatever. That ain't bad. Daniel gives me a thumbs up. Yes. And I'm going to give myself double exclamation point. Yep. I kind of analyzed that a little, like I was his account. I don't know, estimating all this crap. But he's got an entourage of 10 people or so that flies around with him. You got to have coaches. You got to have swing coach, putting coach. And then you got, he's got himself, his wife, his 2 kids. They stay in suites. He probably feeds them and drinks them. 6:30 at Luff's. We're having a birthday dinner for Brennan today at Luff's. Yeah. He made himself a little mahi last night. That looks pretty nice. Sauteed potatoes. Ooh. You got corn cut off the cob and some red onions. Looks like red and green bell peppers. Yeah, there's some cooked up mahi baked in a dish. Yeah. Kid knows how to cook. Anyway, so we're going to eat at Luff's tomorrow. Brennan's choice. Jimmy pays. It's okay. That's what kids are for. Here's my... I go all the way there. Then I flash it that way. So now this is... I got the slideshow going there on... Let's do the other view, just so we can see. We're going to crop split again. There we go. Producers. So now you see the full screen mode of this iPad I got my hand on. So you can see the image in here is the same as the image there. It's a little bit delayed. You see when I wiggle it. So now again, I'm a New Yorker who went to Seattle for the first time. And here's the 9 things that surprised me, and then she returned. She said, hell with Seattle. Yeah, it's not a very pretty weather situation. Tesla announces production of its 1 millionth Powerwall. Jimmy Kimmel and Trump are at it again. The Trump FEMA boss baffles his staff with his bonkers hurricane comment. Okay, let's do a print screen of that. So now we can go to this picture now, and we can highlight the words and look it up. And let's see what the Daily Beast. Yeah, they don't like Trump. So that's probably the source of this bonkers. And then he says it was a joke. And of course, what hurricanes? We don't worry about hurricanes. Uh-huh. They predict an above normal season this year, which I think is like 12 or 13 storms, and we're probably going to see 10 hurricanes, which that's above normal. This is normally 6. So that's 75% increase in hurricane activity. That ain't hay. She's trying to fly. Can't tell whether that's a real. Let's see, secretary who has been dubbed as Ice Barbie for her. Out in March to eliminate FEMA, but reportedly extended the contracts of over 2,600 staff in May. So they're not getting rid of them yet. And she's learning to fly. She got a belt around her. That's a pretty heavy-duty belt. Oh, she's got something running over the shoulders. Doesn't look like it. So this could be a flight simulator. Trump wants the FEMA, the whole, split it up and send whatever to the states and let them deal with their own emergency management instead of it coming out of Washington, which makes sense. You know, why does this stuff come up to Washington? It's just, every dollar that goes up to Washington that comes back to the states, you wash out about 30% to 35% of the money gets chewed up in salaries and expenses in Washington, because you not only got the employees in Washington, you got the office space, you got the communication expense, you got the heating and electric bills, so by the time the money gets back to the states, either in goods or services, Washington has eaten up 35% of the money that was allocated to FEMA, with just the overhead of administrating FEMA nationally. Send it to the states and just have inspectors travel to the states to make sure the money is being properly dispensed, and producing generators and storage of, millions of gallons worth of bottled water, millions and billions of liters of bottles of purified water. Send it to the states. I agree with that totally. Get rid of FEMA. If you get federal emergency management, make it state emergency management. That's, we're supposed to be a federal republic of states. We're not supposed to be a federal republic. And that's what these anti-Trumpists, that's what they want. All right, so we can see how you can look that up. So you get the headline stories here. Now you can flip it. SpaceX keeps launching these satellites up there. He's got like 5,000 satellites up there. Can you imagine? 20 at a time. The first couple of years he was sending up like 9 satellites. Now he's up to 20. They have the satellites engineered so they stack up pretty good inside, the nose cone of the rockets. Oh, here's a video. Oops, you don't want a commercial first. Get that. Nine Merlin engines in there. Very reliable. And the booster comes right back. It takes off from pad 39A and it lands at 38. There's like 3 launch areas in the Kennedy Space Center. And I think SpaceX has signed 15-year leases on 2 of them, 2 of the 3. And the one remaining is, I think, leased by this European space company. Senior space writer. Okay. With space.com. And joined the team in 2010. Primarily covers exoplanets, space flight, military space. And he's been known to dabble in the space art beat, whatever that means. He has a book called Out There, published in 2018. I published a book in 2003, November 2003. And then the second edition in 2007. How about that? As adjunct faculty at Augusta, Florida International University. Okay, we looked that up. We're paging through, but you see how you get these stories. In one hand, you put in the publications that you want to abstract news from, and then on the other hand, what kind of stories do you like to read? You know, this is leaning towards technology because it's my Flipboard on my machines, my iPads and iPhone. If when you get Flipboard, you pick your periodicals and newspapers, magazines, TV channels, whatever, .coms, and then what kind of stories I like to read about. Science, space, chemistry, biology, physics. National news, international news, space news, SpaceX. You can name companies, things, and you can pick, the types of articles off a list that Flipboard will produce for you, and then you can check off which ones you want to read. 5 tips to boost your Android phone. Get an iPhone. That's the best tip that I can give you. When someone comes to me with how do I increase my Android phone photography? Switch to the new iPhone when it's released in September. That's the best advice, because the technology that's in the iPhones with regard to photography is stunning, shockingly stunning, to the point where if you've got a 35 millimeter camera with an assortment of lenses, start selling them on eBay, because the iPhone actually challenges the photography that you have with these big cameras. I mean, and I'm a professional photographer, and boy, I like my 35 millimeter camera with that big lens on the front. Woo! But you know what? If you stand there with someone with that, and someone else is standing there with an iPhone and my super duper bracket, which basically is engineered by Newer. There's what it is. I mean, the lights aren't real bright in there, but I can fold this down. Turn the lights up a little bit for this. This is it right here. The iPhone clips right under here, and it has a little screw on the back knob so you can tighten it up, make sure it doesn't. They've got rubber V-shaped rubber inserts here, if you can see. So when you insert the iPhone in there, oops, which I can show you right here, and you just have to make sure you don't squish the buttons, in those V's. There you go. So I can now tighten up that screw just to make sure that won't. And then see, now you have a nice stable way of holding the camera, instead of wondering about your fingers are going to be in front of the lenses right down here. So just keep your fingers away from that. All your other controls, you can operate with your thumbs, and you can easily, just touch the the shutter button. There you go. And with these, you can adjust, the brightness of the screen if you don't want to be auto on that. There's a line on here that tells you when you have it, the horizon. Nothing worse than taking a picture with a goofy horizon, unless it's on purpose. But a horizon that's a little off is ugly. Nothing screams amateur louder than that. Anyway, but this comes with the handles. You can put a microphone up here. You can have a flash up there or a light for videoing and off-lit situations. But this Newer bracket is a marvelous way of doing iPhone photography that challenges every bit of what you can get. The spring on this is pretty springy. There we go. There we go. Lift that out. It's a very strong spring. That camera ain't gonna fly out of there. Let's see, you got hit by a truck. There we go. So we're gonna take this thing out of camera mode. Plug this. When you have it plugged in horizontally, and then you turn it off, you automatically get this little display, which you can see over here. Turn the lights down a little bit. There we go. And you can flip this up. Here's my appointments. It's reminding me to buy some lotto tickets. And here's the Dow. It's currently at 42,000, down 53 in the first 30 minutes of trading. NASDAQ is up. Apple is at 202 a share. I can touch on that. Oh, I can. Look, a little arrow shows up So now I have to so now it shows individual stocks. There's let's see, here's Tesla. How's Tesla doing? It's down a little bit. It's all green. It's up $4.48 a share to $3.47. If we look at the 1 month chart, look at it here. You could have bought it at 270, and now it was up at 300. So it's gone up essentially $100 a share this month. Now that's an interest return, right? That's pretty dramatic. Yeah. So anyway, we're just gonna shut that down, turn it off, and then you get this display again. It's currently 79 degrees outside. The high is 79 at 9 a.m. and it'll be 74 at midnight. There you go, 79 degrees and cloudy. Very strange weather outside. There we go. And we open this back up and we're right back to where we left it off. I can slide this slider all the way over and then hit this little left arrow and then slide this over one more time, and then you get the slideshow of the popular news items that Trump is turning the screws. So you can see, the headlines, and then you can print screen. You just put your thumb on the edge of this and hold it. Republicans push for proof of citizenship before voting. That's not a bad idea, since you got 15 million foreigners that are in the country. Tesla announces 1 millionth Powerball. When you put your solar system on your roof, all that energy from the solar cells gets spooled down into the Powerwall, which has an array of lithium ferrous lithium batteries, which has a high life expectancy of like 10 to 15 years, and a lot of charges discharge 15,000 or more full cycles. 15,000 days, that's a lot of every day. Divided by 365. It's 41 years. If it's 15,000, it's probably guaranteed to like 10,000 cycles, which is like 25 years. But you need that Powerwall. As a matter of fact, if I had a house today and I had a perfect place for a solar system on my roof with a 384 house, I'd have 2 power walls put right next to one to another. They're about $10,000 a copy, so maybe you get 2 for 16. You know, plus you got $4,000 worth of stuff on the roof. You know, but you can sell the energy back into the electrical grid. FP&L will buy the power from you on the excess power that roof provides, and that can reduce your power bill, whatever power bill you need. But that power will operate, you know, 230 volts. It'll operate your air conditioning. It'll operate your pool heaters, and you know, if they're electric pool heaters. And it will give you, with 2 of those walls connected, you know, in parallel with each other. And you have to have an electrician hook it up. That costs you another $2,000 probably, $2,500 just to wire it up. Not counting the installation of the stuff that's on the roof. Get insurance for that in case it goes airborne with hurricanes, but they anchor it down pretty good. It might pull the whole roof off, but you know, they're not gonna move around very much. But you know, that'll operate the house for 10 days. And of course you have solar power that's constantly going in there. So, you know, you're pretty much independent from power outages. Because even if the power is off, you're, you know, particularly after bad weather, the skies clear up after the storm passes. And those solar cells are filling up them batteries. So for 3 days or so, you may be, you know, running on your power walls. And then 3 or 4 days later, the power walls are getting re-energized, you know, with the sunlight. And you know, and of course we have Tesla cars, so you plug that in, and it'll charge your car. And if you have extra juice in the car, and your power wall is running low, you can take power out of the car. Because there's, you know, 75 kilowatts in the car battery. It takes about, you know, 70. It takes about 11,000 watts. 10,000 watts a day. So you get, you know, like, you know, 4 or 5 days worth of power out of your car if your power wall went empty for some reason. Anyway. Oh, just got a Amber Alert. I put my my watch is in sleep mode. You silly boy. Anyway, so my Flipboard, this is, you know, plus watching TV, you know, watching Fox News and watching whatever news. I only watch maybe an hour and a half of news. 45 minutes of it is the 5. You know, I record it, and then of course, when you play it back, there's 38 minutes of programming, and the rest is commercials, and I can fast forward through the commercials. I pretty much watch everything time shifted. We watch the 5 at like 6, and then we watch, so that's 35 minutes, and then we watch, you know, the 6 o'clock news with Brett Baer. We watch that, and of course that's Like I say, 18 minutes of each hour is commercials. Can you believe it? 42 minutes of programming and 18 minutes of commercials. That's how you get to 1 hour. Yeah. So you have time shift everything. You can bypass all the commercials. With the Xfinity service that I have, the little gray little remote, you can push the fast forward to the third level and zoom through 2 or 3 minutes worth of commercials in about 6 seconds. And you gotta stop it real fast so you don't miss the next piece of news. Every 10 minutes they drop off, to commercials. 1.5, 2, 3 minutes at a crack. This is really important. What this Apple Watch connected to your wrist, and I've charged up my Apple Watch this morning, so that it runs all through the night. It's important to wear the watch at night and charge during the day. Take an hour or 45. I have a fast charger right here, which charges the watch, in about 30 minutes for a full day's use. And my next Apple Watch, I'm sorry to say, is going to have to be the Ultra, the Roman numeral 3 version of Ultra. I just like the display better. Not because of brightness. It's the same size display as this one. It's just the way in which it displays information. The Ultra gives you, better control over what each little segment of the screen will show you. And I have a watch face that I designed with my Ultra 2, which I sold to Mac Me an offer for like $400 against $750 for a new one. Yeah, so I'm down $300 for the trade. I'll probably give this to Daniel and just bite the bullet for the new watch. It tracks so much of your biological information, and being my age, like I have a graphics thing on here. It's measuring my heart rate right now, and it takes 10 seconds to come up with the information. It's measuring 68 beats per minute. I can do a print screen of that, and it should show up in my photos. Let's see if it's come up yet. It goes through the watch first. All right, let's get the watch going. There it is. And there it is. Yeah, it comes through the watch or the iPhone, and then it transmits it to all the other devices. So 66 beats per minute. I can page this up and I can see graphics. I can do a print screen on that, and that'll come up in a minute, and it shows the graphics of my heart going up and down. It's been a low as 44 beats per minute and a high of 104. That was my range for the last for all of Tuesday. There you go. It just takes about a minute to cycle around all the devices. I mean, I should be able to go to all the devices and yeah, see it on everything. Yeah. Nice thing about Apple, it all interconnects. So here's my range. See, now here's one at 44. And since it's a dot that's way out of, that is probably, just a misread. The watch was not sitting exactly right on my wrist when I flipped over or something into bed. See, and that's at you can see 12 a.m., 6 a.m. So it was like at 5:30 in the morning. That's when I got up. So when I got out of bed, my watch flipped around on my wrist and came up with a reading that's an anomaly. So you can see the ranges, 44. So if I drew a line right here, that's about 70. It's up and down from 70 if you look at the midpoint of that line. Currently it's 66 beats per minute. Yeah. Anyway, so and then up on the top of the watch, I've got a whole range of timing things: 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour. It's custom settings that I have here. So you have a little stopwatch feature which I use, when I cook pasta, whatever. I have it set for 10 minutes because of 2 pounds of pasta and a 6-gallon pot of boiling water. You throw that pasta in there, 2 boxes of pasta, takes 10 minutes. I just set the timer on my watch, and I can look at it at any point in time and see when it's, you stir the pasta with your device and lift the pasta up and see how you take a piece out when it's 1 minute to go and put a sharp knife through it and see. Look at the middle, assuming it's dried pasta, and make sure the middle has been saturated. If it's a white middle, it's not done yet. You have to go for another minute. I mean, al dente doesn't mean raw in the middle. It means a top of a noodle, but not raw in the middle. I like it quite a bit al dente because, you put the sauce on and then put it in the microwave. It ends up cooking another minute with the sauce. So since a lot of, I cook all pasta up and I put it in very healthy portion sizes in those 3-cup containers. So there'll be like 6 of those probably in there, and then I'll eat one of them when I make it. The spaghetti sauce the tomato sauce is just spectacular. It's so good. Those tomatoes are so good. Remember, it's tomato sauce. Don't buy the cheap tomatoes when you make tomato sauce. And, you use about 1/3 of a cup of olive oil, the best olive oil you can buy, which costs about $16 a quart. If you buy really clean olive oil from a reputable company. So it's not mixed with other oils, How the hell would you know? I guess If you use enough of it, you can taste the difference. But, I put about a quarter cup of oil in the boiling water before you throw the pasta in. And it puts a nice, microscopic coating of the macaroni with the hot oil boiling on top of the water, so that the noodles will not tend to stick together when they're being cooked. And you just slosh them around every once in a while to make sure that you don't have a bunch of macaroni sticking to itself. And then when I pour it in the colander to drain it out, when the cooking is done, you flush it with some, I put, I have these ice makers. I put a half a quarter gallon worth of ice cubes on top and stir them around in the pasta to cool it down. I rinse it a little bit with the faucet, but mostly chill it down with ice cubes. And I just dump the whole basket of ice cubes in there on top. I have 2 tabletop Magic Chef ice makers made with distilled water, of course. Nothing like carbonated distilled water chilled with ice cubes made from distilled water. Yeah. So when I have some cold soda water, it is the best soda water known to man. I have some Coke syrup, which I can pour on there. A couple ounces of Coke syrup, which then you have a Coca-Cola. That bottle is about empty. I may have to buy another bottle. But if you're in a hurry for a Coca-Cola, you can buy the Coke syrup. The actual, or Pepsi syrup. You can buy either one. You can get Diet Pepsi, you can get Diet Coke, you can get regular Pepsi, regular Coke. I'm a Pepsi guy. I like the higher level of carbonation in a Pepsi out of a can than Coke out of a can. Just doesn't have as much carbonation. So if you don't like carbonation, Coke's the way to go. If you like a highly carbonated, soda pop, then a Pepsi is probably a better way to go. That's the difference in the two. After drinking them for 50 years, that's my instant summary. Yep, so there's right out of my Apple Watch. You press the crown and the side button simultaneously, you get a print screen from your watch. How about that? Yeah. Whatever's displayed on there. I have a display here. You just hold this. And then I can dial through. I'll stop at this one. So, there's a green bar, and I'll show you this one. Do a print screen on that one. There we go. That'll come around to everybody. There it is. This bottom bar, that's the level of charge. We've got 160 miles worth of range of energy in our Tesla. You see it right on your watch. Yep, that is Jimmy's car battery. I'll do a print screen of that one. That's amazing. There we go, and it'll come around to everybody. 160 miles. There it is. It's parked. Now it says set up so I can press that button if I'm near the car, or maybe sitting in the car, I forget which. And then it'll sync up to the car so that whenever you walk up to the car with your watch on, it automatically unlocks the car and gets it in standby ready to drive from the watch. So in case your phone battery runs out or you forgot your phone, you can get in and run your car from your watch. See, it says set up as the key to the car using your watch. And your watch is synced with your biometrics on your wrist so that no one can steal your watch, so to speak. I flip that up. Here's another print screen, which I'll show you, which gives you the VIN number of the car. There it is. The public key ID. You can see the version of the app, which must be the app on the app that's in the Apple Watch, because I did a print screen from the watch. You see it's version 12, 2025.14.6. That's the most recent software version available. And then here's my VIN. That's the actual VIN of the car, ending in 249555. 7 say GD 4RA. The A is Austin, Texas. And what these other numbers and letters mean, there's a key for that. And, so each position is a different definition of the car. The long-range battery, the color of the car, the dual motor design, I said the extended battery, and where the car was made, what year it was made. I think that R has to do with the year. It's the 2024. Those last 6 digits is a serial number. So all these numbers are the same, and that 24, that 249,555. The next car was in 249,556, and so forth. And all the other numbers in front of it are the same, for every car that was made. So they had delivered 249,000 cars of the Model Y anyway, as of March 18th. So the first quarter. This came in the first quarter sales. And that was probably 260 by the time it got to the end of March. Maybe they sold another 20,000 cars. So maybe 270,000 cars out of that one factory. They got 4 factories, so they're making a million Model Ys a year, 1,000,001. That's that's a lot of batteries. They got at least 4,000 batteries per car. Multiply 4,000 by a million, that's trillions of batteries. Oops, I don't want that. Let's just get rid of that. That's using up space. We want the calculator. We're going to clear the calculator, and we got we're saying about 275,000. Oops, cars out of one factory times 4 factories. Of course, we got one in Fremont, we got one in China, and we got one in Germany. There's 4 factories running, I believe. So that's 1,000,001 cars. And we're going to multiply that by, 4,500 batteries. All right. Hundreds, thousands, millions. That's 9 That's 4.9 billion with a B. 4.9 billion batteries. You know, that's a lot of batteries. And a lot of, you know, those 2160 batteries, you know, they're quite a bit bigger than the AA, but not the size of the 7-ounce can of V8 juice or pineapple juice, you know, those 7.5-ounce cans that you see, the small cans on a bar. That's the size of the batteries that go in the Cybertruck. And the Model 2. There's some YouTube videos that have, let's see, next up, we want to. I don't want comments, get rid of that. So we come up here and look at, I just saw this article.
Hey everybody,
right
today I am super excited to give you your
About
first
the,
look at the new DJI Mavic 4 Pro. And in this video, we will be looking at everything that's new compared to the previous Mavic 3 Pro,
That's amazing.
including the new cameras and gimbal system, along with comparison footage, design changes, new features, the all-new DJI RC Pro 2, and more. And hopefully this will help you decide if it's worth upgrading or if you're considering buying the Mavic 4 Pro to help you work out.
And then you get articles about why Starship's failure just made SpaceX unstoppable. Of course.
Starship just exploded in space, and SpaceX stock went up.
Hear that coming
Everyone's
right
calling it a disaster. But here's the truth they won't tell you. This failure just handed SpaceX the keys to Mars. While the rocket spun helplessly, losing fuel and pressure,
I can go here.
Elon's engineers were smiling. Why? Because they just cracked the code that NASA spent 60 years trying to figure out.
There you go.
The spinning wasn't random chaos. The seized payload doors weren't bad luck. Every malfunction revealed secrets worth billions. And what SpaceX discovered will make every other space company obsolete overnight. Let's dive right in.
There you go. That's sound coming right out of the Mac.
5 minutes into flight, Starship begins venting gas. The live stream chat explodes with panic. It's leaking! Another explosion incoming! But here's where everyone got it wrong. That venting wasn't a leak. It was SpaceX's new nitrogen purge system, working exactly as designed. Think of it like a fire sprinkler system in space, flooding danger zones with non-flammable nitrogen gas. While viewers saw disaster, SpaceX engineers saw their latest safety upgrade in action. But then, the real problem started showing itself. Right after the engine shut off, something subtle happened. The spacecraft began a gentle spin, not dramatic, not explosive, just a slow, almost graceful rotation. Most people missed it entirely, but this tiny movement was about to doom the entire mission. Here's the terrifying part. Traditional spacecraft would fire thrusters to stop this spin instantly, but Starship doesn't use traditional thrusters. Instead, it relies on something called ullage gas. Basically, the pressurized vapor sitting above the fuel in its tanks. It's genius when it works. Instead of carrying extra fuel for steering, Starship uses the gas that's already there. But what happens when that pressure starts dropping? The answer will shock you. Deep inside Starship's payload bay, cameras captured something extraordinary. Ice particles, frozen bits of vented fuel, were floating around. Normal stuff in space, but these particles weren't drifting randomly like they should. They were all moving in the same direction, following the ship's rotation, like tiny frozen breadcrumbs showing the path to disaster. This was the smoking gun. The ship was losing pressure faster than anyone realized. And without pressure, Starship's steering system was slowly dying. Every second that passed brought them closer to complete loss of control. Now here's where it gets really scary. As the leak continued, tank pressure kept dropping. Remember, Starship's attitude control depends entirely on that pressure. It's like trying to steer a car when your power steering fluid is slowly draining out. At first, you barely notice. Then suddenly, you can't turn at all. But wait, it gets worse. During coast and re-entry, when precise control matters most, the pressure finally hit zero. Starship became a 50-meter tall, 5,000-ton spinning projectile with no way to correct its path. The question everyone's asking, why didn't SpaceX have a backup system? The answer reveals a shocking design philosophy that could make or break the entire Mars mission. But the pressure leak wasn't the only puzzle. Starship's payload bay doors, engineered by the same team that builds the world's most advanced rocket engines, simply refused to open. How does that even happen? Here's the mind-bending reality of space engineering. A door that works perfectly on Earth can become completely useless 400 kilometers up. When you remove gravity, massive metal structures actually change shape. Components that had clearance on the ground suddenly press against each other in space. Then there's the phenomenon that sounds like science fiction, but destroyed real missions: vacuum welding. In space's perfect vacuum, clean metal surfaces can spontaneously fuse together. No heat required, no warning signs. The Galileo spacecraft learned this the hard way in 1989. After 18 months in space, its high-gain antenna ribs had welded themselves shut. Mission-critical systems, frozen by physics itself. But here's what's truly terrifying. If this happened to Starship on a Mars mission, with astronauts inside, they'd be trapped forever. Now here's the twist that changes everything. The leak might not be random bad luck. Industry insiders believe Starship still carries a design flaw from Flight 7, a harmonic vibration issue that creates stress fractures in fuel lines, like a wine glass shattering from a singer's high note, but at 200 miles per hour. SpaceX thought they'd fixed it with reinforcements and new joints. But what if they only masked the symptoms? What if the root cause is still there, waiting to strike again? This raises a chilling question. How many more successful flights are actually ticking time bombs? The engineering community is divided. Some say SpaceX is pushing too hard, too fast. Others believe this is exactly how breakthrough innovation happens. But there's one thing everyone agrees on. While everyone focused on the failures, SpaceX quietly demonstrated something revolutionary. They pushed their hardware further than any company has ever dared. Most rocket companies throw away their upper stages after one use. SpaceX is attempting to land and reuse theirs. Most companies never try to fly the same booster twice. SpaceX's booster was on its second mission when it failed during landing. Think about that for a second. SpaceX's failure happened at a level of advancement that their competitors haven't even attempted. It's like criticizing a Formula One driver for crashing while everyone else is still learning to parallel park. But here's where it gets really interesting. SpaceX's master plan involves three game-changing innovations already in development. First, ditching the pressure-dependent attitude control system entirely. New reaction wheels, electric motors with spinning flywheels, could provide backup steering without using any fuel. The James Webb Space Telescope uses 6 of these to maintain pinpoint accuracy across millions of miles. No fuel required, no pressure needed, just pure physics. Second, advanced flight algorithms that let Starship steer using only its flaps and aerodynamic surfaces. Even if it enters the atmosphere upside down and spinning, it could theoretically right itself using air resistance alone, like a skydiver controlling their fall, but with a 200-foot tall rocket ship. Third, the upcoming Raptor 3 engines eliminate the need for heat shields around the engine bay. If fuel leaks occur, it simply burns off harmlessly in the plasma stream instead of building up to explosive levels. Problem solved at the source, but there's a dangerous pattern emerging that threatens everything. Aerospace experts are whispering about a darker theory. Some believe SpaceX is falling victim to second system syndrome, the tendency for engineering teams to overcomplicate their second design after a successful first attempt. Version 1 was simple, conservative, and worked. Version 2 added complexity, reduced safety margins, and pushed boundaries. The result, spectacular failures that shouldn't be happening. Is SpaceX's confidence becoming their weakness? Are they repeating the same mistakes that doomed other aerospace giants? The evidence is troubling. Each flight adds more systems, more complexity, more potential failure points. But here's the plot twist that nobody saw coming. While other companies celebrate small incremental improvements, SpaceX treats system-wide failures as learning opportunities. They're not just building rockets. They're redefining what's possible in space. Every failure teaches them something their competitors will never learn.
How about that?
Because those competitors
Your
never
early
push
morning
hard enough
dose.
to fail spectacularly.
Would I take
Boeing's Starliner took over a decade to reach orbit
every
twice.
day?
Blue Origin has been coming soon since 2000. Meanwhile, SpaceX is attempting things so advanced that failure becomes a form of progress. Here's what's really happening. While everyone else plays it safe, SpaceX is writing the playbook for the next generation of space exploration. The spinning Starship wasn't just a malfunction. It was a $200 million lesson in physics.
Stop it here. There we go. I was wondering where did this programming originate? It came from the iPad, which was then going through this cable back in here and going into the MacBook Pro. Yeah. And now we'll save that for later. Go back to my picture show. There you go. All right. We're coming up on 2 hours. I think it's time for me to have a little early lunch. I'm going to have some spaghetti. But instead of meatballs, Marilyn brought home some beautifully cooked shrimp. So I'm going to heat up my spaghetti with the sauce. And then I'm going to add the I'm going to slice the shrimp so that you have like big fat layers of shrimp meat. And I'm just going to lay that on top and then mix it up in the hot sauce, because we don't need to cook the shrimp. They're already cooked. They just need to be warmed by the already warmed sauce. Yep. I don't want to put the shrimp meat in the microwave. It'll tend to toughen it up. We want tender shrimp. So I'm going to slice it on the bias. So I've got pieces of... Oops, I don't have any video feed from my... yeah. So there'll be pieces of shrimp. Maybe take my pinky and slice it. That'd be the size of the shrimp meat. Half a pinky. Cut longitudinally. Yeah. So that'd be 2 pieces. Yeah. The shrimp are pretty big shrimp. They're about this size, partially curled, so I'll cut the shrimp this way. So I got big slices of shrimp. These are my ear pods, which I don't use very often. Yeah, see, it's synced with my iPad. There it is. It's showing that they're fully charged and ready to go. That's crazy, huh? Actually, it's coming up on 2 of the iPads. So if I pick one, no. So if I go to settings and go to Bluetooth, I should see, let's see if I open this up. There we go. Now I close that up. Oops, I think it was this one that gets connected. turn this back on. Is that this one? Take one of these out of here. I'll take them both out of here. Let's just see what's going on with the connectivity. Okay. Oh, I think I'm... You squeeze these. It controls the sound. All right, let's put them back. I don't want to deal with this right now. I gave a pair of these to Daniel, so I'm probably going to have to look. I'll hit this right here, and I'll say, forget this device. Forget it. Yeah. And this one here. I'm going to go here and say, forget this device. Now, the next time I open this up, it's going to say connect. So we connect, please hold the button on the back of the thing. There we go, connecting. And it is yeah, we'll skip this. We'll skip that. And we don't want to deal with that either. Oh, maybe I didn't do this long enough. Connect. Hold the button on the back. There we go. Press and hold. I guess I can let go of the button. Continue. Done. I guess you got to take these stupid things out of the case. You certainly don't have to do this every time. There we go. See, Jim's iPad Pro's connected. There you go. That's what we got. We do not want to forget this device. No. So they are connected. So any sound or any phone calls or things that come through here are going to come through this iPad. Now, these other two devices are asking, do you want to connect through those? And the answer is no. We'll just connect through this one. So if you have your music coming through here, it'll go in through the iPads, into the, there we go. Let's get everything back on there. Silence is golden, but not when you're streaming. When you're streaming, you want to have constant something going through there. I have an Apple Pencil, which I don't use very often. That can be connected here. The Cardia thing to do your electrocardiograms. 6 lead, yeah, with the special Cardia 6L, which I have in the living room, I believe. And whoops, I didn't want to do that. Stupid touch screens. I wonder if they're trying to connect with these headphones. I'm wearing those XM4s. Connection unsuccessful. Yeah. That's fine. I had a defective pair of headphones and I returned them and got another pair. In warranty. Yeah. The thing broke off. I mean, it's just laying with, it just broke off. And I don't misuse this stuff. It's not like I pulled it too tight or something or other, You just slip it on your head. It's not supposed to break when you're just slipping. My head is not that big. It's a 7 3/8 inch hat size. In Texas terms, that's a small head. 170-pound body and a 12-pound head. Whew. Filled with brain cells and blood. Surrounded by bone, a couple of eyeballs. Personal hotspot is off. Yeah, I learned that you can do your side swipe here. Gosh darn it. We gotta go full screen. Let's come back here and go full screen on this. So you see this right here? You can just go to the next one. See personal hotspot, the second from the bottom? I can just press that and it's looking now to connect with something. Like when I'm in the car trying to, I have to use the personal hotspot on my phone to download the software into the Tesla. It has to go through the iPhone because I have there's no Wi-Fi in the garage, per se. So I create Wi-Fi using the iPhone by using the personal hotspot. So that way, the Tesla software, when it's time to update the software in the car, which is about every 2 weeks or so, I got to use the personal hotspot, with my iPhone. So while I drove when I drive to Flakowitz for breakfast or something or other, I'm downloading software through the phone using the personal hotspot. I should write an article about that and send it to Tesla, because people that live in multi-family structured garages, there's no safe Wi-Fi in the garage. So you have to create your own safe portal to the Tesla so you can, and I go to the Tesla app right here. Here's my, this iPad is actually a key. And I don't mean that, that's not the Latin word for here. A key, an IE, here and there. Yeah, see, there's a software version. We just looked at that. It didn't have the mileage. They kept that private, on the watch for some reason. 8,122 miles driven since March 18 of last year. March, April, May. So that's 14 months. Let's take your trusty calculator. $81.22. So we're going to clear this. 8,122 divided by 14 equals times 12 equals. No. divided by, so that's 14. That's 5,000. All right, now times that times 12. Yeah. 7,000 miles a year. 6950. Times 3 is 20,000. That's about the same exact mileage that we had on the last Tesla that we turned in. Because that was right around 20,000 miles when we turned it in on a 30,000 mile lease. So they got a car that was 10,000 miles under mileage. That's worth a lot of money. That's 1/3 of its value has been given back to Tesla because they won't let me buy it. Doesn't matter, I don't want to buy it, but in those high technology things like cars, lease them and turn them in every 3 years, because that way you get the new technology, the new this, the new that. There's 1,000 little tweaks that they do to a car in 3 years, electronically and the physical shape and the aerodynamics and battery technology. There's so many, the technology in the computers themselves, new chipsets, things that you can't update with software. So the next car we may get, the robo-taxi. Buy one for personal use. You just get in the front of the car and say, take me to Flagowitz. You don't have to, the car will drive itself. 2 years from now, Florida streets will be already on robo-taxi. So you can buy one of those, keep it out of the fleet, just lease one of them and use it for your transportation needs. You get a little older as a retiree, you don't have a lot of need for high capacity, so you meet your kids for dinner. The car handles 2 people and, luggage in the back. You could basically use the robo-taxi car to take you to the airport, and then when you're done, send it back to your garage. And it'll park itself back in your garage and leave it there so you don't have any parking fees. And it'll sit there, and then when you come home from your trip, you just call for your car to come get you. And the car will drive itself empty and pick you up at the airport. You put your bags in there, hop in, and it'll take you home. Yeah. Whew. Think of the money you save. It's $50, $60 each way, if you Ubered. If you took your own car, it would cost you probably $150 in parking fees. So that's $75 a trip, right? Coming and going if you're leaving the car in the garage. So it's the total charge for you to come and go in and there to the airport. So it's $100 each way. No matter you can multiply and divide it any way you want. You either pay the parking fees in the parking garage. I'd rather have my car at home parked in my own garage than in the airport garage, subject to theft, vandalism, and dirt and dust and jet fuel and denting, from people opening their car doors into you. All that kind of stuff. But with a robotaxi, you could just have that sucker take you to the airport and then drive yourself home. The car will drive itself home empty. And then it'll park itself in the garage. Of course, it'll know where that spot is. Yep. And it'll just sit there until you call it. because you'll have an app. And so when you arrive, as soon as you get out of the plane, you call for your car. And by the time you're back, you have carry-ons probably. By the time you get down to where it's going to pick you up, it takes you 25 minutes. Go to the bathroom, Or order the car in when you're a little bit done with all the bathroom, because maybe you want to have lunch in the airport, who knows. You can have a cocktail. You're not driving. The robo-taxi is going to take you. And then when you get in the car, you got this nice 17-inch screen and put on Fox News and watch the local news channel. Whatever kind of channel you want to watch. But 2 years from now, you're not going to have to drive your cars. You're going to have this auto drive. And that's a lot, it's got 8 cameras. So it's got 8 sets of eyes all the way around the car to watch out for, flying obstacles. And it watches the lanes and watches adjacent traffic and, stop and go. It'll go and stop, automatically because of the cameras in the front and in the rear. You keep you perfectly positioned between everything. A lot more precisely than a human driver. Supposedly 10 times. It has 10 times. You'll have an accident every 2 million miles. Whereas the average accident are 4 million miles. The average accident, according to the National Highway Transportation, whatever, that 6-digit acronym, which I can't remember. We have a little system coming up here, as we can see. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Those frame rates will come back in. There's the blue dot. It's that green X over there, where the air might start to swirl. Create a little system. Anyway, that storm is just approaching Fort Lickerdale. It's going to be upon us. Let's see, that's a 2-hour swing, so we got about an hour to go. I got a warning over here on the phone that says in an order we're going to have some severe, in an hour we're going to have some severe weather. And as we can see with my Radar Pro, that looks pretty severe to me. Let's see, how would I have the topacity? Touch this. They got different views. There's the cloud view. I like this high definition view. Here's per station. You can actually pick which weather satellite loops you want to get. We'll just go with my high def one. Here's the opacity. Turn that up just a little bit. You can have the jet stream winds, or you can have the surface winds. I don't have temperatures turned on because it fills it up with so many goddamn little thermometers. Let's turn it on and show you. All right, we turned on the temperatures. We want, yeah. So you can see, you got the green, the yellow, and the weather system ones. All right, that's not too bad. But when you come back out, see, you got thermometers everywhere. So in this mode here, you can see. So you can see down here in Homestead, which would normally be hotter than hell. It's at 74 because you've got flood washes and, serious weather. So we're sitting up here at 80 degrees and Homestead's at 74 because the weather's going through there and cooling the air temperature down big time. Yeah, Key Largo 82, 81. And the weather's really kicking up. So as it's coming north, it's getting, the sun is higher in the sky, heating up. You just, you hold your palms up and go outside in the sun and feel the heat hitting that hand. Now you multiply that by 15, 20 square miles of cloud. That sun energy is going into the clouds. That's why these systems become so powerful, because of all the energy it's absorbing from the sun, and when it circulates into like a hurricane where it has a systemized size and it covers, you've got 1,000 square miles of clouds that are constantly in an organized way soaking up energy from the sun. If you wonder why there's so much power in a hurricane, it's coming from the sun. It's coming from the hot water that the wind system just went over. Yeah, hot water underneath and sunlight on the top. It makes for an amazing pancake of energy. Yep. And the waters down here in South Florida are like 85 degrees temperature. In the middle of the summer, like up to 87.5 degrees. That's like rocket fuel to a hurricane. And the temperature in Boca Raton is 80. And I show 77 degrees outside. My trusty thermometer here. 89% humidity. So it's inside here it's 70.7 degrees. I'll show you full screen mode here. There we go. You see right here? 70.7. That's the studio temperature here. It's 62 degrees relative humidity because of my big mouth. It would normally be 50%. But outside, let's get this wire out of the way. It's 77.2 and 89% relative humidity. That's a lot of humidity. Yeah. This thing was alarming at midnight. I finally found where the alarm button is. It's right on the front of this stupid thing. I turned it off. So we should not have any. And it's like at midnight, this stupid thing is buzzing. And it won't shut up until you press it on the top or press it on the front. Yeah, that's a button I'd like to just pry off that sucker. We do not want an alarm coming out of this stupid thing, particularly at midnight when I'm ready to do nothing. So since I didn't want to have to figure out how to turn this stupid alarm off, I just shut the doors. We got double doors into the studio here. I just shut them both, and not much alarm comes through the doors, as opposed when they're open. All right. Rain for the next hour. And you got a little rain index. That's curious. Yeah. Okay. We're supposed to have, yeah, well, you can see it's coming. This is a stream from 9:30 to 10:15, 11. So it's basically a 2-hour strip that's repeating in relatively fast format. I could make it go faster. You can get aviation. I'll leave the temperatures on. What the hell? It's a signal. You got wildfires, earthquakes, power outages. I got that on. Dangerous avalanche danger. I don't need that one on. Storm chasers. They throw up videos, photos, response. Radar. Let's see. The loop length is the longest length, 120 frames. Oh yeah, I can turn up the speed right here. There we go, make that a little faster. Oh, here's the opacity of the clouds. I'll turn that up a little bit too. So now you see this stream a little quicker. It's 120 frames. Which is essentially 2 hours. So this is moving, this much in 2 hours. So it'll be over Boca Raton by about 1 o'clock. It'll start getting nasty. Now sometimes this, depending on what's going on upstairs, the system can get more intense or it can start to dissipate. Let's back up a little bit. Keep me on the top there in the middle. And it's all covering all over South Florida. So in 2 hours, we're going to start getting rain, and it's going to be raining for, a good amount of time. Flood watch. We don't have any watches. Let's just touch this area right here. See if you touch on the temperature button, that'll give you. There's no weather alerts yet for us, so I'm just going to touch this one. This one. There we go. 3 a.m. June 3rd. This weather watch, not my watch on the wrist. Flood watch effects through Wednesday. Flooding portions of the southeast and southwest, including Metro, Broward, Miami, Collier, Manatees County. 2 to 4 inches of rain. Isolated. Watch out for high winds. Yeah. Here's all the counties connected. Yeah, they copied everybody along its path, which is all the southeast and all the southwest. It must be a sizable system. Let's back up even more. Yeah. Put me in the upper middle. There we go. So you can see that's a 2-hour loop. So I'm going to start there. Yeah, well, it'll be seriously over Boca Raton in an hour and a half. It's traveling at 14 miles an hour. See this little arrow? So they've actually traced how fast these clouds are moving forward back. We financed a hotel out here only because the guy was super strong. And it was say it's right underneath. It's the beachfront area, right where it says Key West High School. We'll see high. Just go straight down from there onto the beach. And that's, I believe, this hotel project we built in 1980, we'll say, which is quite a while ago. Anyway, these clouds are moving through fast, and they're usually loaded with lightning. That's what the flashing you're seeing, because this technology actually counts the lightning strikes. And so a lot of the structures we sit around in, but you can tell where the high rain is because the temperatures are dropping rapidly. There we go. We want to get back to there's Jimmy right up there with the blue dot, and we'll expando it so that the full range of that storm. There you go. All right. Latest and the greatest from 8 stories above Chops, downtown Boca Raton. We'll listen to some SpaceX stuff. Pretty interesting, huh? You can tie in all this stuff with your iPads and come back here. I have to end with this panel right here with about a minute's worth of music, or 30 seconds, when I say goodbye. It's day 3, June 3rd. Can you imagine? Next week we'll have the WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference, channeled through Cupertino, California. Find out, more information about all the neat stuff that Apple's going to come out with, by September of this year. iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches, MacBooks. We're good. We've got. Really happy with this iPad Pro, the Air, the MacBook Air of the MacBook Pro. It's a slightly thinner design, no fans, 15-inch screen instead of a 14-inch screen. It's real thin in every aspect. I wish it had a couple more ports on the side, so you have to spend another $80 for one of these C, what do you call it? I need that one right there. You plug it into this wire right here on the side. and it has 6 or 8 ports, 3 USB-Cs and 4 USB-As, the older plug. And that's how I plug in my, I got 2 iPads connected to it, and I have, my soundboard comes in the separate port. And that seems to be a stable arrangement with this device that you plug in one of these ports and it turns it into 3 or 4 ports. Like if you had big screens, I could power big screens, to fill this room with big screens, which Marilyn would not be happy if I did that. But, if you were putting on a display and you wanted to show other people, some graphics, let's see, let's do numbers. And so we'll just I'll just show you what I do to keep track of my rent. There we go. Well, let's look at this one right here. This is my new rent calculator. This spreadsheet has warnings, okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Some cells I have blocked out. See, when I calculate stuff, I also included the year-over-year percent change of the CPI, the southern region, the price index, and the which has to do with all items and all items less food and energy. And you see they come together. Whoops, I didn't want to tilt the chart. Put that back to where it belongs. I just wanted to show the chart. There we go. So it's around 3%. So I'm 3.28% year over year. So I basically went back to the property manager and said, I'll pay $39.57, and that which means my rent goes up $122 for next year, which is this year. So that's what we're paying for rent. I said, okay. They had a lot of people bitching about their rent increases. They wanted $400 a month. I said, no, I'll pay this. And I gave them this chart. And here's all my, from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. And you can see the rent increases, accordingly. So it's gone up from $31.25 to $39.57. So it's gone up $800 in 6 years. Yeah. But they. I think it's well worth it. I have lots of friends that live around, and you just if you go to Del Rey, it's $1,000 more a month. So instead of $4,000 a month, it'd be $5,000 a month. So, and if you buy a place, it's going to be $5,000 a month. And then you say, well, the taxes go up and the insurance goes up. Utilities go up. So the mortgage payment stays the same, but everything else goes up around it, which basically is equivalent to this right here. And notice in 2022, it went up 10%. So if you're renewing rents, in 2022, let's see what happened in 2022. Yeah, we went up $200 a month. Whew. And we went up $250 the year after that. And only $50 a month from 2020 to 21. You see, it was down 2021. See, it's right there, 3 or 4%. So the rent increase was nil for a couple of years. You see where it says monthly rent increase, 50, 75, 100, 200, 385 in 2023. That's when I got hammered. Yeah. Well, you're coming off this 10% curve, and Boca was still in it. Anyway, so I'm going to try to negotiate a real good rent this year. In August. What is this, June? Oh, God. In 2 months, I got to do this again. And I'm not going to slide. I'm going to just add a row right here. I'll have to, re-engineer this thing. But this chart right here, I'm going to have to add a column. Yep. E, F, G, H. So just add a column. Let's go. What do I do here? Let's do that. Here I was just playing with rents. So we'll play with this one. And change the name. There we go. So now we've just renamed that. So we can get them in here in this column. And I'm going to extend it. Oops, no, that's not how you do it. There we go. I just added a column. Copy that to that. There we go. You just saw in live. Now I got to put the formulas and stuff in there. Let's see what's under here. Is that a formula? So I'm just gonna do this. I'm going to copy it and just paste it right there. And now it's looking for values that don't exist. This is where you add the rent. You input the rent number here. This is a number, this is not a formula. I believe. It's a complicated chart. Or maybe you add the rent here. Yeah, you put the rent in here. We just put 100 in there. Now that 100 comes up here. There we go. So now I got to figure out how to do the cells. This is looking for a place that doesn't exist. So I'll find out where. I'll do this later. Anyway, so we've begun the so this is going to be 25 to 26 up there in the header up there. There we go. Boy. Now I'll have to move this up over. Got to do the same thing. I got to add a column So, column action. Add a column after. There we go. It's like magic. Oh boy. And this stuff, I'll just take this thing and touch that button, move this, slide that over. There we go. And I'll take this one. No, I want to make it I'll have to. Oh, yeah, we'll just make that wider. Whoops. And move this back. That gets that a little bit bigger. Touch that, and I just. Touchy little bugger. There we go. And of course I can't see where that is. Oops. There we go. That's the hardest part of that, obviously. There we go. Now we're making it up. So now we look like we just got to deal with all this stuff up in here, which there's some formulas I gotta crack into in this 2024 column and change those formulas so that they respond. They pick up from this year instead of from that year. Yeah, I know how to do that. So this is what I do to figure out how the rent's going to be. Yeah. I give that to the property manager. He says, "Oh God, what is this?" I even take into account the energy that we're getting from the socket, from the NEMA 2150 socket, because we're getting all this free energy from that plug, because they're not billing me for the plug. The good doctor paid for the wire, but I'm just plugged into the main frame of their electrical panel. They're not separately metering me. They could charge me $100 a month for that spot, and I'd pay it, because otherwise I'd have to go get the juice from Supercharger, and it would be twice that cost. I'd pay $100 a month for the spot. I might tell them, leave my rent the same, and I'll give you, charge me $100 a month for the plug. And they'll say, "Nah, just put the rent up $100 and we'll give you the juice." Because they don't want to have to figure out how to do that in the lease. Yeah, so that's well, I figured it was $1,440 last year. Wow. It's a lot of kilowatts. Yeah. I've got it calculated right there, and I have it implied on the rent to show the total net per square foot per month, including the 100 a month deduct from the juice. I need to update that to this column, which I'll do not this minute. We're done here. I need lunch. I need energy. How about you guys? So I created a new tab there. So when I collapse the Numbers app, I can pick up numbers from any one of these other devices, and it'll have that new 2025 tab. Yep. The leftmost tab has got the most current formulas and the formatting. So I'm going to add a year instead of... Last year I just shifted everything over one, which was a stupid idea. Just add a year, just bring it out. I'm worried about how it fits in a piece of paper, so the hell with that. It'll just have it a portrait instead of, so it'll be lopsided portrait-wise. So it won't fit this way. It'll fit, it'll fit horizontally instead of, So here's portrait, and then I have some charts in here which are landscape. So my rent is going to be landscape. They just look at the very rightmost column, and if it's not too far off of what they wanted, they probably go along with it, because I do a pretty good analysis on that. Plus I'm comparing rents all over the county. Wi-Fi calling. Emergency address update. I've already done that. Why does it keep going there? Gee. All right, how's my Tesla doing? It's plugged in. If I didn't have my iPhone or my watch with me, I can run the car off this iPad. If this is in my briefcase, it'll say, hello, Jimmy. And then that little lock button up top will, right here, that'll unlock as I walk up to the car. When I get about 15 feet away, it automatically unlocks itself and turns itself on, so that whatever I do with the car, this iPad is a key. I have my watch as a key, my iPhone is a key, and I have a smaller iPad that's also a key. And the red card inside of this thing is a key. In case everything runs out of battery, that little guy right there will open the car. Just hold the card up between the front and rear windows, that column. Just tap it right on that column up there, and it'll unlock the car, and then put this, and then just lay this in the console between the driver and the passenger, and that unlocks the car. Starts the computer. Yeah. It's amazing. It's an amazing device, that car is. And the fact it updates the software all the time. Let's see. I can look at video clips, that occurred in the car. There's no sense in bothering. I can view recent clips. It's connecting to the car. Here's the interior. It's I have cabin overheat protection on. It's protecting the car to 95 degrees. It's only 89 interior temperature. See, it shows 89 degrees interior temperature. When it gets to 94, the air conditioners will start up and chill the car down 5 or 10 degrees or so. I mean, I can do it right here. I can just turn that on. You see the animation up top? The cold air is flowing, and you're going to see the interior temperature start to drop. It's at 89, and the air AC system is operating. Remember, you don't have an internal combustion engine, so the whole engine, the motors in the car that drive the wheels, they're not on. Just the compressor and the fans associated with the air exchange internally and externally. And that air conditioner runs for a couple of minutes. The interior temperature just dropped to 88, and it'll start coming down faster. The first couple of minutes, 87. So the nice thing about these kinds of cars, electric cars, particularly 87 inside, is that, let's say you have a lunch appointment. So you drive out to your lunch appointment. Your car's sitting out there in the hot parking lot. So when you start to get the bill, when you say, Garçon, I take out my iPhone and I go to this control panel right here, and I turn on the air conditioner. So that by the time I sign up and pay the tip and, say goodbye to people and say goodbye to the person I'm standing next to as we walk out the front door of the restaurant, my car is chilled down to 68 degrees. So when I open the car and get in the car, it's a nice chilled car. The seating is cold. The air temperature is cold. You open the door, see now it's 79 degrees. So the interior of the car now is dropped down 10 degrees while I'm yakety-dacking in here. And I'm going to turn that off now. Because it's 76 degrees, I'll turn it off. You see the animation goes off. As far as you see the animation up on the very top, it's got like snowy air coming through the vents. Rip, and we hit the off button. Oops, off. There we go, now it's off. So I got the temperature from 90 to 75. It came down 15 degrees in a couple of minutes. That's what I'm saying. So I figured out just about when someone raises their hand for the check, I'm going to go to this app and turn on the air conditioner to chill down the car. See, now it says interior temperature 75. Now, I don't know, it's cloudy out, so it won't increase too fast because the sun is not out. But it'll come up. It'll get back up to 89 degrees again in a couple hours. So that was like 2 minutes, of air conditioning, but that's a nice way. Now you can, with the summons, you can stand outside and push a button, and the car will come get you underneath the canopy. You don't have to run out in the rain. The car will drive itself slowly at 5 miles an hour, which is about how fast you can walk. And it'll drive around, and it will come right up to wherever your phone is. Or you can put it to a spot. You can put it to a particular piece of geography, like a backside door of the building, or just pull it up into the canopy, under the, where the rain won't hit you. Or close by a side door, so that you can just dash out the door and the car's right there. That's the summons. You can summons the car. Empty. And with the upgraded software there is, it's very safe. It isn't going to hit anybody walking around a parking lot because it's got 8 cameras all the way around. You're not going to back into anybody. It's one of the nice. You can back out of so if you get to your lunch appointment early, back into the parking space so your nose out. So that way, if you summons the car, it'll be a lot quicker and easier for the car to just go straight out of the parking place, assuming it's parallel parking or straight in parking, like in a parking lot. If you're on a side street, it'll pull itself out of a side street. It'll watch out for other cars or pedestrians or both. It's, the self-driving feature is like so close to being done. Because, in a couple of weeks, it needs to be done because they've announced it all over the world 2 or 3 months ago. And time's up on that. The robotaxi is supposed to come out, so the full self-driving has been approved by municipal governments in Texas and in Southern California to have these cars ride around with no driver. The robotaxi doesn't even have a steering wheel or brakes or accelerator pedal. It's strictly automated. It's kind of like getting in an elevator. You get in the elevator and you push button 19. It goes up to the 19th floor and then opens the doors. And that's the way driving's going to be. You're going to get in the car and say, take me to Maxaluna or take me to Prezzo's. And we'll say, what city, sir? Boca Raton. And we'll drive out there on Powerline Road, and you don't have to do a damn thing other than just strap yourself in the car and enjoy the scenery or watch something on TV on that big screen in the middle. Yeah. You can watch a movie. You can watch live television. Put it on Fox News Live. Or you can watch, yesterday's broadcast of The Five with those 5 panelists. Yeah. Judge Janine is off the spot that was all the way to the left because she has just been appointed and sworn in as the United States Attorney for the Washington, D.C. area. And that is going to be one. So she's back to work. Not that the 5 wasn't work, but it was, like fun work. When you're a U.S. attorney, now you got to start, you got to get back into law books and know the codes and the paragraphs and the subparagraphs. And I was a bank CEO, and as a bank director or CEO, I had to know all the banking laws, the paragraphs, the subparagraphs, the interpretative paragraphs, and where you have a little slip and slide and where it's solid or rock. You have to know all that stuff. You have to know what the regulators think about these regulations. And you have to make sure your bank complies. You got 2 choices, comply or do something else. And as the CEO, you're the guy, you're the orchestra leader, so to speak. So they look at you, they give you the orders. You're out of compliance, Mr. Wilson. You need to get this bank in compliance. We'll be back in 6 months to see how you're doing. And if you're not doing well in getting your bank into compliance, they start hammering on the board to replace you in your company. They don't say, Mr. Wilson, would you please excuse us? No, they don't have to do that. They just do it right to your face. You're a big boy. And because the bank won't excuse me. There's no way. At least the bank board I had. They were very loyal to myself and Phil Motter. And no regulator was going to chase us out of the room. No. I remember the state of Florida wanted to have one of our directors said, I'd like to have a private meeting with you. And I looked down the end of the table. I said, there shall be no private meetings with board directors. Whatever her name was, I said, if you have a private meeting, you are going to be discharged. You will be terminated as a director. All in favor? You know, and the rest of the directors raised their hands. Yeah, you have a private meeting with a regulator, you're fired. You'll no longer be a director of this bank and have any influence over its operation. So you've got anything to say to the regulators, you say it right here and now. Otherwise, you're out of here. You can excuse yourself. And that shut that down real quick. You know, you have to, you can't be a pussy willow running a regulated industry like a bank. No, you got to know the regs, and you have to know where the lines are. Some of the lines are red, and a few of the lines are gray. Not many. Yeah, most of the lines are very black and white, and you will comply, or you will not be there. You'll be somewhere else. And they'll say, you know, Mr. Wilson, you need to get this into compliance, or you need to find an alternative thing to do, because you will not be on this, you know, as CEO. We'll see to it. We'll either remove you, or the board will remove you. So get it into compliance. We'll see you in 6 months. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll get it into compliance. That's what you got to say. And by some way, you got to get it into compliance, or you're going to be somewhere else. Because they'll sell the bank from underneath you, because they'll pull some tricks, you know, with the FDIC. We'll cancel your FDIC insurance, or we'll tell them to cancel you. And then you want to operate this bank without FDIC insurance, your deposit base will migrate out of your bank, because they want that deposit insurance. Because if they cancel your insurance, you're obviously a risk they're not willing to take. In which case, I don't want to take that risk either, and they'll go somewhere else. Yeah. So you lose 25% of your deposits in a couple of days. And people close out their accounts. Yeah. So that's trick number one. They threaten canceling the insurance. That'll get your attention real fast. So they'll get rid of Jimmy real quick if they actually threaten to do that. And they'll give you dates certain. You know, as of July 1st, you will not have insurance unless that ratio is 7.00% or better. Yep. That's your your loans to capital ratio. Your assets. Your total assets to your capital ratio has to be 7% or better. Even though the law doesn't say that, that's what they say. And they say you don't like it? Do something else. Go somewhere else. You will not get a letter of recommendation from us. We never got that threat, because we were under 7 for like 3 days. Because somebody gave us a check on a Monday instead of a Friday. It was like a $300,000 investment, and I planned on that investment. Oh, it came in Monday instead of Friday. And so for the weekend, we were out of compliance. It went to 6.8% for 3 days. And they came right back up to 7. I said, we're fine. Come on. 3 days. It's like, a hiccup. A check came through on Monday instead of Friday. Stop it already. And I showed them the deposit check, and I said, so we're back to 7. Stop it already. We were on that line, You have to be on that line, because you need enough working assets to create earnings. We actually made a profit. The bank made a profit for the first time in the history of the entire bank when I was CEO of that bank. It never made a profit in 7.5 years of operation with all kinds of different management before we owned the bank, before we owned controlling share. We didn't own all of it. We owned 96% of it. We actually diluted all the other investors down to 4%. We didn't eliminate them, but they got diluted. Oh, yeah. Well, we had to. So we didn't intend to do that. We intended to put in a certain number of millions of dollars. But their bank capital shrank so fast that when you combine the amount of capital we put in to the amount of capital that was remaining, and then you divide it back by their share count and everything, they got diluted to, we ended up owning 96% of the bank because their capital just disappeared. I mean, it was terrible. They had a couple of El Stinko loans that had to get written down, and it ate up their capital. So if we didn't put the capital in on Friday, or we put it in on Thursday. We put it in a day early. I didn't want to. I deposited my own cashier's check, so I wasn't. I just figured, God damn it, I'm gonna make the credit on Thursday instead of Friday, so that whatever we do on Friday is going to be ceremonial, rather than watching the check get deposited. Take it down to Floyd, and he puts it through the system, and that's it. All the numbers divide out. Yep. Computers. You got to file a financial statement at 4 o'clock every single day. A bank does. A full 4-page assets, liabilities, income, and expense. Right down to earnings per share. Hopefully. Yep. All right. We just crossed 3 hours. We're into lunch hour. Can we say goodbye? You can hear the music. This is royalty-free music other than Epidemic Sound Instrumental, because their soundtrack only goes 3 hours and 4 minutes, I think. And since we're 3 hours and 9 minutes, we're 5 minutes into some other music. We'll give it thumbs up. Yeah, it's nice. Instrumental. I've got about 5 other instrumentals. We're on the first one. It's 3 hours. This is 3 minutes and 10 seconds. But the Epidemic Sound Instrumental is 3 hours, 1 minute, and 24 seconds. And then it moves on down my list here, which you can see on your screen. Yeah, you can see it on your screen, I think. Let's get rid of this, because I can't tell what the hell I'm looking at. Oh no, I gotta go here. I don't know how to show you that. I don't think I can show you that list on the screen. No. Now we're on to the next music. Counting the Hours. Thomas Skeidelberg. Very nice. I like it. Thumbs up on Skeidelberg. Yeah. Okay. It's amazing. I can talk here until next Tuesday. So the only way, I just have to stop. This is the third. On this magical music, I'm going to bring this up into full focus. So if you have headphones anywhere near you, this is the time to put it on, because I have this set for high definition sound and video. Listen to how good that is. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps. I love it. Bye-bye. I'll see you tomorrow. Sometime before 9:15. 9 o'clock. Let's try 9 o'clock.